Good morning, Chaos fans, and welcome back to another edition of Conversational Chaos, the intelligent ramblings between Jason and the Rage Monster. The Rage Monster is in the studio this morning, and as with me as always, Jason.
Good morning, Rage Monster.
Good morning, Jason. How are you today?
Just fantastic.
You sound really, really fantastic. This is going to be a high energy episode. I can just tell.
I can feel it.
I can feel it. Me too. So, what do we have on our random topic generator today?
I've got nothing.
You have absolutely nothing.
I tried to get the random topic generator running this morning.
You had to get out there with a crank and crank it up, and it wouldn't start?
Didn't start.
Uh-oh.
I'll give it one more shot, but we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So entertain us.
Entertain us?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the meantime. We did get some good feedback so far on the movies.
We have. We have gotten some great feedback so far on the movies, and we've actually, since we've gotten such good feedback, we are actually going to postpone the movie topic for today, and I'm sure that some of you are disappointed. We're going to postpone it for today's recording, and we're going to put it on next edition's recording. So this will be edition 13, and so on edition 14, we should have our movie poll answers next episode.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so. Gotten really good feedback. I don't know how many responses we've gotten, but it's been several. Many, a plethora. Jefe, would you say I had a plethora of piñatas? Yes, El Guapo. You have a plethora.
Anyways, I don't know what we're segueing to.
That was
Three Amigos?
The Three Amigos, yeah.
Yeah.
Jefe, what does it mean to have a plethora?
So thanks to all the people who are emailing them in. We have a couple responses on Reddit. I think at least a couple on Twitter. So whatever you're comfortable with, we'll combine them somehow.
Yeah, we'll get them all together. Put them into a spreadsheet, I'm sure.
I think even you responded, which was
yes, I did.
Surprising.
But I told you, now that we've decided we were going to postpone until the next recording to tally the final results, I'm probably going to amend my choices. See, it's so difficult. So difficult to say what movies are what. I was going to do it by genre. I thought, okay, well, I'll pick a good action movie. I'll pick a good comedy. I'll pick a good drama. I'll pick a good... I'm not going to lie, there are plenty of good chick flicks. Sorry for all you ladies who are listening, but there are plenty of good rom-coms that are quite good. But I wouldn't put them in maybe my best movie category. But I would break it down, sci-fi, whatever. But then I started doing that, and there was just too many categories. There was more than 5 categories. So then I couldn't use all the categories. So,
all right. So we'll save that for next time.
Next time.
All right. Random topic generator.
Okay, random topic.
Commodore 64.
Oh, man. Breaking out the
Do you know what that is?
Yes, of course. The Commodore 64 computer?
Yeah.
That was the only computer our school had when I was in elementary school.
Yeah?
Yeah. And we only had, I think, maybe 4 in the whole building.
Yeah.
And we were never allowed to use them for anything.
Oh, no?
No, we were allowed to play. There was like a couple of games that they had on there that we were allowed to play on there. But they had those crazy, 5-inch floppy disks.
5.5, I think.
There you 5.5. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you would have to slide the thing in there, and you'd have to like crank down the thing that locked it basically, so you couldn't pull the disc out while it was reading it.
Right.
Yeah, we totally had those in school, but I didn't know anyone who had one at home.
No?
No.
My uncle he ran the soccer league in town, so they had bought one, I think, to do the paperwork and stuff for that. I really don't know what they actually used it for, but my cousin and I would play on it all the time. People would just copy the discs over and just hand out the games to each other. So he had a nice collection of games that we would play. I remember we used to play.
That's called piracy.
Probably was.
Go to jail for that now.
You could.
Well, I guess maybe it's not if you're giving it away. Probably just get your hand slapped. But if you're selling it, that's a different story.
Yeah. No, we weren't selling it. We were just... And there weren't that many games. So it was... You would get... By collection, we probably had like 10 or 15 or something. But
that was a lot back then.
Yeah.
If you had 2 games, that was a lot.
But there was only like 3 or 4 that were worth playing. And I remember I used to love this one. It was called Bungling Bay. You were a helicopter and you would bomb the enemy's oil refineries and things like that. And you had a aircraft carrier you had to land on. I used to love playing it, but it would take like 15 minutes to load. And he would never want to play. It's like 15 minutes. It took forever. You would sit there and just watch that little block go across the screen.
See, and that's the
terrible.
The funny thing about these young people now So they have all these different gaming systems, right? You got the Xbox, you got the PlayStations, you've got the Wii, and all that stuff is, instantaneous. It's like happy gratification. Whereas when we were kids, Commodore 64, if somebody had a computer, which where I grew up, not many people had computers. I mean, we grew up in the middle of nowhere, and a lot of people who have like labor style jobs, and those were really expensive. I don't know how much a Commodore 64 cost, but the first Apple computer, that thing was like $1,200 or something. And that was a lot
back then.
In the early 1980s. That was a lot of money. Back then, there was a lot of systems, but they all kind of stunk.
Yeah.
You had Commodore 64. You had, when Apple did come out, they did have games on the computer. I did have a friend whose parents owned a dairy. We used to call him the milkman, but he actually had a truck that he would deliver like milk cartons to like schools and stuff. That was kind of his job.
Yeah.
But they had an Apple computer in the office for their business, and we were allowed to play on it. So they had a couple of really cool games that we used to play on it every once in a while. But you had the Commodore, you had the Apple, ColecoVision. Did you ever play ColecoVision?
Yeah.
Good friend of mine growing up had a ColecoVision system. The controllers were the worst because it looked like what eventually became a mobile phone, with a little turn dial knob at the top. That's what the controllers were. It wasn't a joystick like an Atari system, and that's another one, an Atari.
Yeah, we had an Atari after a while. That was
what, 2600?
Yeah, because it was under $50. I remember that commercial.
Yeah, $49.99. That's when we got an Atari, was when they got super cheap. Yeah. But they got super cheap because the Nintendo would come out.
Oh, that's right.
We did not get a system until the Atari was $50. And that was even a lot of money. That was probably 1987.
That was a lot. Yeah.
Probably 86, 87. But we had an Atari, and we couldn't hook it up to the television in the living room. So we had to use, and the television we had at the time was one of those giant like floor model TVs.
Right, with the big cabinet.
They were really heavy. The cabinet was mostly empty, but it looked like a piece of furniture. It didn't look like an entertainment device.
Yeah.
Because there's just a giant floor model television. We weren't allowed to hook it up on that because that was where my dad watched the news, and my dad basically commandeered the television every night as soon as he got home. He just watched the news all night, which I actually attribute to my knowledge of history of that time, of my youth, because most people who were born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, don't remember much about what happened. All we were able to watch was the news. So we watched the news so much, I just remember a lot of the stuff that was happening back then. But couldn't hook up the Atari on the television downstairs. We had to hook it up on the TV we had before that, which was a black and white knob television. It wasn't even a remote control TV. My brother and I had it up in our room, and we had to rig the system to hook up to the back of this old television.
Right, you had to have a collection of boxes usually that screwed into the...
Yeah, it had like
slider,
the slider on it. And honestly, I could probably try to find... That's something that would not have gotten thrown away. It's probably... The TV is probably still at the house. And it probably still has that thing screwed to the back of it. If it does, I'm totally going to have my dad take a picture of it and send it to me, and I'll post it with this episode. So we had used the Atari on that, but that was really our entertainment for video games, which is why I never, ever got into video games, really. It was so boring. The games were terrible. Joust, that was the big one we had. You had to fly around in that little bird. And like land on the eggs.
That's right.
But you had the Atari, which was okay for the time.
Yeah.
But they had a ton of games for Atari. Then you had, like I said, the ColecoVision, but my buddy only had a couple of games for that, one of which was the Smurfs, totally awesome. But the controller for those were awful because it literally had a keypad like a phone.
Yeah.
A modern phone and a turn dial. So every game had a different card you had to slide in to the keypad. So it would tell you, push button 3 does this, and so the buttons all did different stuff. So it wasn't like a modern like PSP controller or a Xbox controller where all the buttons are kind of standard. They all do similar things.
Yeah.
It was very unwieldy to play those. And the computer games were different too because you had to use the keyboard and the mouse. The Apple had a mouse. It was a one-button mouse that you would use.
Yeah, I don't even think the Commodore had a mouse, did it?
No, it was all keystroke.
Right. Yeah, because we would play two-player games, and you would get the prime player would get the arrow keys, and the other player would get just
the letter keys and the space bar and stuff. Yeah,
so that was funny. But yeah, I still remember that. That took game forever. And Spy Hunter. Once we got Spy Hunter,
Spy Hunter's awesome. I used to play that in the arcade.
Yeah. That was
Do
great.
kids even know what an arcade is anymore? I guess Chuck E. Cheese is an arcade.
It's kind of like
really
that.
is a Dave and Buster's and whatever those other places are. Like those are arcades, but they used to be everywhere.
That's right. I like going to Chuck E. Cheese. Do you go to Chuck E. Cheese?
No.
No,
man. It's a cesspool.
It's not bad.
Do you think they ever clean that stuff?
They have enough hand sanitizing stations around.
They never clean that stuff. That's why they put all those hand sanitizer.
Yeah, you just don't touch anything after you're playing the game.
It's the illusion of safety.
Yeah.
They're giving you, hey, use this hand sanitizer because we never, ever wash anything. That's kind of what they're saying.
We don't go during the busy time. We go during the slower time. During the week or something after school when it's warm out.
I've only been to a Chuck E. Cheese a couple of times.
Yeah?
And that was for birthday parties. We were taking the girls to birthday parties or whatever. And they're just horrible places.
They're not bad. They're fun. We go every year for my birthday.
Oh my God, for your birthday?
Yeah, for my birthday.
I'm not even going to say your age, but you still go to Chuck E. Cheese for your birthday?
We went for the kid's birthday. So we went for my oldest son's birthday and then my youngest son's birthday. And then my birthday came along and like, are we going to Chuck E. Cheese? It's what we do for birthdays. I guess we'll go to Chuck E. Cheese for my birthday. And then every year my birthday comes around and they're like, when are we going to Chuck E. Cheese? So it's just turned into...
So it's really your kids that are dragging you to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, I don't just go hang out there by myself.
That would be creepy.
Maybe a little bit.
There would be a lot of...
I really like the coin pusher games. I want to get one for my house.
It's a very weird game to like. I get it. It's sort of strategy and it's kind of fun.
There's really no strategy. A little bit, maybe.
There is a little.
You pick the left side or right side.
We used to have a carnival in the town where I grew up. A local volunteer fire department put on a carnival every year as a fundraiser. And they didn't have that when I was a kid, but as I got older, they had the booth that just had those like quarter machines.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys that I was in school with at the time, so middle school and into early high school, they would sit at those things and they would be plunking in quarters for hours.
Yeah.
There was always like some special way. They said those machines are super heavy.
I bet.
They make them so heavy so you can't bump them and shake them.
Yeah.
But they are really, really heavy.
Yeah, the ones at Chuck E. Cheese, they're fixed or something. When the coins fall, you don't get as many points as you get coins. And now they change it with the cards. You got to go to another machine and swipe your card, and it gives you a token. And you got to go back to the coin pusher. Then you got to go back to the machine, swipe your card, get the coin, go back to the coin pusher.
That's the worst.
It's a difficult.
All that stuff.
It's fun, though.
We try to keep the girls away from that.
Really?
Kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
And it's really because when I was a kid, and I was forbidden from going to this place.
Forbidden.
It was forbidden. There was this bar down the street.
Well, that's a good place to be forbidden from.
It was probably, maybe a quarter mile up the street from my parents' house. And it was called Bill's Tavern. And it was this rundown old place that had one pool table and it always had 2 or 3 arcade games in there. But the place never had, especially during the afternoons, during the day, there wasn't ever really too many people in there. But they always had a couple of really cool arcade games.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'd take quarters and I'd go down there and I would play those arcade games until I ran out of quarters, which didn't take very long most of the time. I was forbidden from going down there, and my parents found out that I was going down there. Then they would yell at me, and then I would say, okay, well, I'm not going down there. Then I'd go down there again. Coal pits. What was that?
So you're going back to the coal pits. You're either in the bar or in the coal pits.
Yeah. I went a lot of places I probably shouldn't have when I was a kid.
Pinball, that's fun, too.
I love pinball.
You don't see those anywhere anymore. They don't even have those at Chuck E. Cheese.
I know, and that's actually kind of sad.
Yeah.
I love pinball machines.
There's a guy I worked with. He restores pinballs. Like, he just goes, pinball machines. He just goes to places and finds broken ones and just fixes them. He's got a basement full of them.
Basement full of pinball machines? That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
When I used to go to the mall, which took forever to get to from where I grew up, but they had an arcade there, and I would almost always go in and play at least 1 game or 2 games of pinball. I would pick just a different machine a lot of the time that I was in there. It was never the same one. But as I got older, the machines got more and more complex, and they were a lot more fun to play. And there is actually strategy to playing pinball, various pinball machines. There's different ways to use your flippers, and kind of got into it a little bit. I really enjoyed it. And if I had the space... and the money, of course, because I'd want to buy a nice machine. But if I had both of those things, I would buy myself a pinball machine. I love pinball.
There's just trying to look it up real quick. I can't find it. I think it's in Indiana. I think that's why I typed it in.
The Pinball Museum?
No, it's a arcade. It's like 5 floors of an arcade.
Good Lord.
And you pay like an entrance fee, and all the games are free. You don't have to put coins in, and they have food and all kinds of stuff.
What?
They have just rows and rows and rows of every kind of arcade machine. So just the regular games and pinball and...
I see a road trip in our future. Like, that would be awesome.
There's another one I think in Virginia, like Western Virginia. It's not quite as big as the one in...
That would be totally awesome.
Yeah, I have to look it up. I'd saved it because if I ever drive out there again, we're going to stop. But you pay just a fee to get in, and then...
Do you know what the fee is? Like $20, $10?
It's like $10. It's
that's
something.
cheap.
It's not like $80 or something. It was reasonable.
The arcade games were the one-armed bandits of our generation. You know,
Now I got what you're saying. Oh, Galloping Ghost is what it's called.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I plunked so many quarters into arcade games. I don't even know how. It's thousands of dollars probably in my lifetime.
Galloping Ghost in Brookfield, Illinois. So it's close.
That would be something that a lot of the millennials would probably find entertaining. You know, pay $10 and go in and play all the video games you want. And it's like, oh, it's cool. I get to play Galaga.
But I don't know. People might get bored with it. You have to be older people that would go enjoy playing Galaga. Or Centipede. Because I used to love Centipede with the ball that you had to roll around.
I hated Centipede.
Of course.
You ever see any of the tabletop ones? The ones you'd sit behind? Those ones were always kind of neat. You'd find those ones in like restaurants.
The table where you have to look down into?
Yes. Like
you're
looking down into it. Yeah.
Those are fun. Those are kind of neat.
Pizza place that hasn't been there in at least 30 years, probably 35 years, called Giari's, had a tabletop Pac-Man and a tabletop Centipede.
Oh, that would be fun.
And I remember...
But you had to put your hands in this little cubby, and that kind of freaked me out all the time.
It was clear. You could see into it.
Yeah.
But...
they didn't clean in
like,
there.
Like under the table, kind of.
Yeah.
It was a little weird.
Galloping Ghost, Brookfield, Illinois. It's $20 to play all day. That's not bad.
That's cheap. That's all day, man.
It's all day. So...
I take a vacation every summer to the New Hampshire seacoast. It's just some place that my parents always went to.
Yeah.
And still do it now. I still bring my kids up there every year. Of course, the New Hampshire seacoast, this is a very typical, this portion anyway, it's called Hampton Beach. It's a very typical boardwalk kind of sea town.
Yeah.
So there's funnel cakes and there's pizza, putt-putt, and there's arcades and there's bars and there's restaurants. There's all this stuff. In this large building that's called the casino, which used to be a casino. Of course, now gambling is legal. They have tons of stuff. They have little shops. They have eateries. They have everything in there. But they had this giant arcade. And my cousin and I, when we were teenagers, we were probably like 14, 15, 16 years old, we would go in there each with a roll of quarters, and we would play this one video game. We never were able to win. We came super close several times, but we would just sit there each, and we did this one day. While we went to the beach, we would walk from the beach up to the casino and go into the arcade with a roll of quarters and just plunk quarters into this game called Narc. And it was 2-player, but you weren't playing against each other. You were playing against a computer. Yeah. But man, we used to love that game. We'd play as long as the quarters would last, which was usually like 1 to 2 hours. It was a while.
Oh wow.
Other than that, really, I never really played video games too much.
Yeah. All right, I have something to show you.
Okay. What do you have to show me?
So when did you watch this video?
Okay.
So I found these videos, and I found them quite entertaining. You haven't seen them.
I have not seen them.
It's called Jelle's Marble Run.
Jelle's Marble Run.
So I'm going to play it, and you have to tell us what you see. Ready?
Yeah.
I can't hear the sound so well. Let's see if I can turn it up a little bit. You're not doing very well commentary.
No, I'm not. We're watching a lot of marbles go down looks like a dirt path, weaving in and out, and they're... it's like watching a downhill, like snowboarding race.
It's like a race.
It's a race with marbles.
Yeah.
This is the video you wanted me to watch?
Yeah, I've gotten hooked on these videos. I just watch them all the time.
Why?
It's entertaining. My son watches them now with me, too.
It's very strange.
Yeah?
You're going to have to post a link to one of these.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that.
Definitely in show notes. But it's very weird. How long do these things go?
Just a couple minutes. But see, there's a lot of controversy because Red Number 3. It won the championship last season.
Red Number 3?
Red Number 3.
Red Number 3 says he's gaining on the blue.
All right, I'll show you another one. So this is the summer version. This is the summer.
Are they at the beach?
Sand Marble Run. No, it's like a big downhill section.
That's
right.
very...
So he names all the marbles are all on teams and things like that.
That's very weird.
And then he has Marble Olympics. I'll show you this one.
Oh man, it's this nice slow-mo shot you got here.
Oh, yeah. I just randomly picked in the middle. This is the speed marbles.
Speed marbles. Aren't they all going to be roughly the same?
Surprisingly, they're very different.
Is it?
And he times them down to a tenth of a second, 100th of a second.
Oh my God, this is marble curling?
They have curling too.
That's very weird.
But he has them split into countries.
Now, do they...
I watched this probably in like an hour the other day. Because you would think they're going down this glass plate.
It's very weird. They're not evenly weighted.
No. Well, marbles are very not consistent.
I would assume that's because of all the stuff they put in there to change their colors and stuff.
They're just not even round. I have a collection of marbles at home.
Why do you have a collection of marbles? This is very strange.
It's not that strange.
It's pretty strange. Yes, marble curling is riveting.
This is the snowboard challenge.
Where
Where they go back and forth. They try and stay on the snow as long as possible on this one. But surprisingly, they're not the same.
No, it seems like they all roll kind of weird.
Yeah, so that's what I've gotten into watching lately.
I don't even know what to say to that.
It's fun. He's got a lot of them because he has, I guess his channel went down and he lost a lot of subscribers. Something happened, he deleted it, or something happened on YouTube. But he's up to like 250,000 subscribers now.
Winter Marble Olympics 2018 friendly practice round has 54,800 views
This
on
is the
YouTube.
practice round. This isn't even the official competition. He does the commentary for all of it. What was the one I was watching yesterday? The one marble dropped out because he got injured. So he had to have the backup step in. But he shows like the split times during the speed races and
Well, you notice the stands are made out of
Packed with-
Legos, and they're packed with marbles.
packed with marbles. There's some other marble competition sites too, but his is the best one. Jellies. I think it's Jellies or Gels. Jelle.
This is very weird. I mean,
It's not weird.
It's no stranger than, I guess, those... My kids have only watched a couple of these videos, but I know a little kid who just loves those videos of people playing with toys.
Those are weird though.
Exactly.
Those are different. Because
this is just as weird.
No, this is not. They talk in weird voices and they pretend they're playing the game. This is competition.
At least it's kids playing with toys. I mean, if you got somebody behind... Because you never see the people that are actually
You
playing.
see the kids playing? Oh, these are kids playing with toys. Because I've seen the one with the adults playing with the toys.
Really?
You haven't seen those?
No, that's just weird.
That is weird. My daughter had stumbled upon one the other day, and it was a lady dressed as Batman trying to talk in a deep, raspy voice, playing with toys.
She's got to go out and smoke about 6 cartons of cigarettes.
But then she turns around and talks like in a high voice to play with, like, I don't know, Peppa Pig or something. Those are annoying. But no, this is different. This is fun.
It's weird, and I think part of it is I guess from the math perspective, the physics of it is kind of neat.
Yeah. But it's just like some other kind of racing, horse racing or whatever. It's just marbles.
Do you watch horse racing?
I don't, but a lot of people do.
I don't know a single person
What?
who goes to watch horse races.
Not goes to. Most people watch it on TV. Unless a lot of people go to the Preakness.
How bored do you have to be
Kentucky Derby.
to watch horse racing on television?
People love horse. This is like a horse location.
This is
It's very
too.
popular.
Yeah, Maryland is the Maryland horse industry is. Did I hear? Speaking of which, did I hear that they're thinking about moving the Preakness from Pimlico?
I think they probably talk about it every year when their lease comes up for renewal.
Look where Pimlico is. It's not exactly the ritzy suburbs.
There's the high-class horse race watchers, and then there's everybody else.
The Triple Crown. That's the Belmont. That's the Kentucky Derby, and it's the
Pimlico.
And that's Pimlico.
Preakness.
The Preakness. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The Kentucky Derby and Belmont Stakes are very ritzy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the infield
They're
looks
very
like
ritzy,
there, though.
but they don't do anything, as far as I know.
No, they don't?
No, well, at Pimlico, they've stopped people being able to bring in their own alcohol. You know what people used to call that, right?
What'd they call it?
People would say, we're going to the Preakness. They didn't call it that.
Yeah.
They called it the Freakness.
Oh.
Because it was totally, up until about, 6 or 7 years ago, it was completely insane in the infield. Nobody was there to watch horse racing. It was literally just an excuse for a giant party. So the whole infield of the track was full of beard up 20-somethings. There was always fights. There was always assaults. All sorts of stuff always went on there. People used to refer to it as the Freakness, but they had to stop it because it just got totally out of hand. Same reason why they stopped holding Woodstock. They had Woodstock in '94, so the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And that was fairly tame. It rained and there was a lot of mud throwing and stuff. But then in Woodstock 99, that's when it went totally off the rails. They held it out at Griffiths, where Griffiths Air Force Base used to be. So out in like Utica, Rome area of New York. And it was wicked hot. They didn't have enough water. They didn't have enough porta potties.
Yeah.
At least it didn't rain, I don't think. But that's when, at the end, there was like all these riots going on, and people like set semi-trucks on fire, and there was, I don't remember how many like sexual assaults there were, but there was a ton on like that last day. Like a bunch of stuff happened. I'll never forget this. They had a picture on the front page of, it was a regional paper. So I grew up in the northeast area of New York, so I want to say it was the Times-Union, which is out of Albany, or Post-Star maybe, paper from the area. But they had this on the front page, was this picture of 12 New York State troopers who were there for security, right?
Yeah.
These 12 troopers standing in a line with these two really attractive young ladies who were scantily clad at the time. And literally in the background of this photo is a bunch of idiots burning a bunch of stuff. I mean, there's like a huge fire, and these people are like throwing stuff into it. And these cops are standing here getting their photo op with two, good-looking young ladies. And I think they all were reprimanded or fired because they were supposed to be stopping that kind of behavior. And here they are, and people are burning stuff, and all sorts of crazy things happen. So, so they stopped for years. And for some reason, I want to say that they're having another one.
Well, it's probably sponsored by some corporate company anymore.
But they really need to up security because that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Freakness. It just got way out of hand. They had to stop allowing people to bring in their own alcohol, which I agree with. That's like the worst idea ever, to allow somebody to do that.
What about car racing? Marble runs are like car racing. Or the Olympics.
Do I look like a NASCAR guy?
You kind of do.
What? I don't look anything like a NASCAR.
NASCAR has changed. Well, I used to love NASCAR before when it was more the southeastern.
I think that's so weird.
I used to do that every Sunday.
Really?
Yeah, every Sunday. We'd just sit there and just watch the show. 5 hours.
It's no stranger than watching golf.
Yeah, football or whatever.
At least football, there's action and then nothing. Yeah. Action and then nothing.
NASCAR goes on. It's constant. There's always something going on.
Yeah. Left turns.
Yeah.
That's what's going on all of the time. Go fast, turn left.
There's a little more, but once you get into it, if you can have that time.
I just never got into racing at all. No.
Do you watch the Olympics?
Some of the events that I would have interest in, yes.
Yeah. Do you watch curling?
Yes.
Oh, curling's fantastic.
Curling is totally awesome.
I don't know if you remember when we were a kid, they would have it, but it would be on at, I used to love it then too. And it would be, you check the listings and it would say, curling, it's going to be on for 15 minutes at 2:30 a.m.
And you'd get up at 2:30 to watch it.
No. We didn't have VCRs back then. So you'd get like the 5-minute highlights. But now it's on all the time. It's great.
Yeah. No, they'll play it for a solid hour.
Yeah, it's very popular now. There's actually a curling place on the eastern shore of Maryland.
There's a curling place right up the road.
Is there?
From here. Yeah. American World Curling Center or something. They actually do training and stuff there. It's in Laurel, Maryland. It's at the Laurel Ice House. Oh. They have 3 hockey rinks there, and they have the Olympic Curling Center there. Oh. So you can actually go there. They have curling leagues and stuff you can get involved in. Yeah.
I might have to look into that.
Yeah. A former coworker of mine started taking like curling lessons basically there and got on a curling team. Yeah.
That would be fun.
I went to school on the Canadian border. We got Canadian television stations. So they played curling all the time.
Yeah.
But they would play the coolest sport in the world to watch, bar none, is Australian rules football. They used to show games from Australia. They weren't live. They were recorded, but they would show those, and I would crack myself out on watching those games. I loved it. I don't know why. I was never a rugby fan, so I don't understand why I liked Aussie rules football so much, but I just fell in love with it. And I could, seriously, one of my goals in life is to go to Australia to go watch one of these games live. Just want to do it.
Have you ever played it?
No.
No?
No, nobody in America has played Aussie rules football. Well, the field is enormous. It's oval-shaped, which is really strange, unlike any other sport. I mean, I guess a hockey rink's kind of oval-shaped, but that's just so the puck doesn't get stuck in the corner. But yeah, it's really strange, and I don't remember the dimensions of the field, but they have basically like no rules. There's almost no rules.
You just have to get the ball to the other side?
Rules football, yeah, it's like rugby in one sense. You can't just run with the ball. You have to dribble it every so many steps, and you can
Is it round?
No, it's a rugby ball.
How do you dribble that?
Practice,
I guess.
But you don't have to like dribble it like a basketball.
You just,
but like every so
it?
many steps, you have to bounce it back up off the ground. You can't pass the ball with your hands forward. You can only pass it sideways or backwards, but you can kick the ball forward. So these guys got some legs, man. You talk about some of these punters in the NFL. They, who they punted the ball 60 yards. These guys can punt a ball like 100 meters easy. It's crazy because the field is super long. I want to say it's like 150 meters long and like 100 meters wide.
Yeah.
It's absolutely enormous. But these guys can just boot a ball. It's absolutely crazy to watch. The whole object is to get the ball either. There's 4 uprights at the end, almost like goalposts. There's 2 long ones in the middle and then 2 shorter ones on the sides.
Okay.
If you kick the ball through the one in the middle, it's, I think, 3 points. If you kick the ball through the ones on the sides, I think it's 1 point.
Okay.
But if you run the ball over the end and hit the ground with it, I think it's 6 points. It's been a long time since I've had to watch a game, so I don't remember.
Yeah.
The scoring is a little weird, but you'll see scores like 54 to 47.
Oh, wow.
It's like really odd scores you'll see a lot. Just it's very different than American football, and it has action all of the time. It just never stops.
It just doesn't stop.
It's like watching American football and the constant movement of soccer and kind of put them together with no pads. These guys don't wear pads at all.
Yeah.
Except for guys that have gotten hit in the head too many times. You'll see them wearing just like those soft
leather helmet.
like basically a leather helmet just to kind of protect their coconuts a little bit. They have this weird rule. It's called the blood rule. And you can be bleeding and still play. Once the blood gushing reaches a certain amount, like on your clothing or on your person or flowing off your body onto the ground,
right?
That's when they'll blow the whistle and they'll make you go off and get patched up at least a little bit before you come back out and start to play. But it's absolutely insane. I love Aussie rules football.
I don't think I've seen it, other than like a couple clips here and there. To watch
Keep
a
a game and watch it. It's actually really entertaining to watch. It's kind of rough.
Yeah.
Kind of a rough game, but it's really good. But because of, being on the Canadian border, we used to get that, and we used to get curling all the time. Curling was so much fun to watch. We turned it into kind of like an alcohol consumption game. Of course. And when you're in college, that's the kind of dumb stuff that you do, But it was fun. Speaking of...
Spit it out. Got us all on the edge of our chair
something we were talking about a little bit ago reminded me of something. I had one of the coolest... I was talking about college. I had one of the coolest jobs ever when I was in college.
Did you work in the mailroom?
I did work in the mailroom. That's when I was at college. When I was on break from school, so generally over the summers, I had a job at an outdoor concert venue as security. I fit in nicely because I'm kind of robust. So we did security for this concert venue. It's kind of, this outdoor amphitheater has been there since the 60s. And I only know that because my father had talked about going there to see concerts when he was in high school, which was in the end of the 60s. So it was a really neat place called the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. SPAC is just what everybody called it. SPAC.
It's catchy.
But we had, myself and a couple of my friends went and applied for jobs for the security company that did all the security for...
How old were you when you were doing this?
You had to be at least 18. So I think I started maybe when I was 19.
Yeah.
Summer, I think, when I was 19 years old. And it was awesome because you got to see so many concerts.
Oh, I guess for free, right? Because you're working.
Yeah, because you worked there. So we got to see so many concerts for free because we were obviously working there. But it was the weirdest thing. You had to apply for this job, and then once you apply for the job and they accepted you, you had to go to a training course.
Yeah.
to be security, because we were actually licensed in the state of New York to be security guards. We weren't armed. We weren't armed guards. There was a whole separate course for that. But you had to take this 8-hour course and you had to pass this test in order to be licensed to be a security guard. So we were all licensed. We had to carry around. It looked just like your driver's license, except for it was for security guard. Okay. But we got to see so many concerts. I got to see...
These all 80s concerts?
No, there were some of those. Totally some of those. One of the coolest was Styx and Kansas, man. I guess those were 70s, really. But they came together. That was totally awesome. But you had to work at like different parts of the park.
Yeah. You would rotate through positions?
Yes.
Okay.
But the way that this place was set up, it was a New York State park. SPAC was in the middle of this park, and it was surrounded by this 12-foot tall chain link fence.
Okay.
And it was basically in the woods.
Yeah.
Outside of the fence line was really woods. I mean, there's really nothing else around. So outside the fence was patrolled by the New York State Police, but fence line and in was all patrolled by people.
Security.
And so that was always really entertaining because we had the power to detain somebody.
Yeah.
We technically didn't have the power to arrest somebody. So the New York State Police had basically a little room in the amphitheater that you would bring people to that were breaking the rule. People doing drugs, selling drugs, biggest one was people trying to jump over the fence to get into the concert for free.
Yeah.
That was, 'cause this place was so big, there was tons of guards on the fence lines every show. It's like every 100 yards there'd be at least one guard on this fence line.
Did they give you handcuffs?
No,
zip ties or anything?
you had to like manually detain people.
Oh.
Which most of the time, if I caught people jumping over the fence,
Yeah.
I would just escort them to the nearest gate and just kick them out. It's not worth my time to bring them down. Or are they going to get booked for trespassing? Big deal. I really never brought anybody down to the back unless they were being real jerks about something. But saw tons of concerts. Sometimes you were on the fence. Sometimes you were working the gate where people came in with their tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're working at what they call the performers gate. So it's where like the tour buses and stuff would come in.
Oh,
with
that's kind of
the
cool.
acts on it.
Would you get to go backstage too?
Yeah, all the time. That's where our office was. So when we came in to check into work, that's where you went. When you went to leave, you had to go check out. So, so ran into all sorts of people. P-52s, Dave Matthews Band, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Beck, Jewel, Fish, a lot of big acts from the 90s you would see there all the time. This incident when I was working at Performers Gate, I only worked Performers Gate twice.
Yeah.
So, and that was one of the only places you were issued a walkie-talkie.
Okay.
Was when you were working the Performers Gate. And so I was working the Performers Gate one day, and this was a show, and it was totally awesome. It was Peter Frampton.
Okay.
And Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Yeah.
So Peter Frampton was opening for Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Yeah.
And the gate for the buses wasn't too far from the amphitheater. I could see the stage from where I was.
Yeah.
But the access road to like where the buses parked behind the amphitheater went right near the stage.
Okay.
So Peter Frampton had started playing, Crosby, Stills and Nash hadn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
They had been there earlier for their sound check or whatever, but they were done. And they hadn't shown up yet. And so Frampton's people called up to the gate and they said, hey, if Crosby, Stills and Nash are not here when his first set starts, could you please hold the bus at the gate until his first set's over? Obviously, because buses are loud. Those big old diesel buses going right by the stage. They didn't want that.
Yeah.
And so I said, yeah, no problem, whatever. So this bus pulls up 20 minutes later, and bus stops and door opens, and I go up and I check the guy's pass and everything, and he says, we're Crosby, Stills and Nash here for the show. And I said, okay, no problem. I said, we have to wait until this first set's over, and then I can open the gate and let you through. He's like, all right, no problem. So he shuts the door. Like 2 or 3 minutes later, you hear this eruption from inside the bus, and a lot of profanity, screaming.
Oh.
And then the bus door opens, and this sawed-off little guy with a skullet. Do you know what a skullet is?
Yeah.
Like when you're bald on top and it's like really long hair in the back. Comes off, and he comes right up to me, and he looks at me, and he says, do you know who I am? And I said, yes, sir, I know who you are. And it was Stephen Stills.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm Stephen Stills, and I'm here with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and if you don't open this expletive gate, we're going to get back on this expletive bus, and we're going to expletive leave. And it's funny because he's really short. I mean, he was 6-7 inches shorter than me, but he's poking me in the chest as he's doing this. And a reaction is to basically say, don't touch me or I'm going to punch you in the mouth. That's really what I wanted to do to the guy. But I knew if I did that'd be like an international incident. I mean, that would have been on like MTV News or something. So I ended up calling back to my boss. It's like, hey, I have Stephen Stills out here. He's screaming at me that I won't let him through the gate. And it went back and forth for a couple of minutes, and eventually they just said, just open the gate and let him through. It's not worth the effort. Yeah. Let them deal with Frampton's people when they get down here. So then I ended up saying, fine, okay. And he stormed back on the bus just screaming. The guy had just stolen his car. I don't know what he was doing that for. And then I opened the gate and I let him in. And, of course, they went on and played. And what a jackwagon. I've told people that story a few times in the past. And other people who have had run-ins with Stephen Stills have told me that he's just not a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had to use the bathroom and the bus wasn't working.
No, he's just
Maybe he has to use the bathroom a lot.
He was elderly at the time. I mean, this is, back in the late 90s, so he was in probably his mid-60s, early 60s. But I did get to meet Graham Nash and David Crosby. I shook his hand, and really good show and whatever. Oh, thanks, man. Well, I think that's going to do it today, Chaos fans. It's been entertaining and fun as usual. And, geez, the random topic generator today, Jason, good job.
It's a little rusty.
It clunked away, but finally kicked in. So
I thought about it last night trying to get it started, and I just fell asleep. No, I guess if people want to send us topics, they're free to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Send us
something they want
topics.
to hear you rant.
Yeah, anything you want us to talk about. We will be talking about movies on the next edition. And if you want to contact us for any reason, you can use our Conversational Chaos email, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram. Gotten some good responses. So
We're trying to find out what our listeners like to use the most. Seems to be email is the prime way. But we get a couple from the other stuff too.
yeah,
so.
we got a few from Reddit, a couple from Twitter. Oh, no fact checked today. No fact check. I just don't think there was anything from
See.
last.
Maybe she'll do 2 next episode.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. That does it for today. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Have a good one.